Well, welcome back to Well, Yes, the podcast where science meets the latest wellness trends. I'm Walter, co-founder at Ham.
And I'm Sarah Greenfield, functional medicine dietitian and microbiome nerd.
Hello, microbiome nerd. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. We have so much to get through. We're almost like looking ahead, planning the year 2026. It's here. And I want to talk about the Ham method on how to balance the your metabolism and mastering it, in fact. But before we go there, obviously metabolism is on everyone's mind. Sarah, any resolutions for this year?
Yeah, I love thinking about metabolism, especially as a dietitian. It's a hot topic for the new year. As far as my resolutions, I don't usually make resolutions. I feel like it sets me up for failure because I have all these things I want to do and it's just so many things to put on my plate. And I like to look at more like how do I integrate things throughout the year and just use this time to really reflect on what I've accomplished and larger goals for the new year. That's kind of where I like to be rather than resolutions.
I'm with you on this one. I think it's also important. I always find like the end of the year is a good time to take a step back, reflect, and then set intentions for the new year, but also be extremely forgiving with yourself if you don't meet them on January
Yeah.
1st and fail them by January 2nd, maybe, right? So
Yeah.
there's definitely don't put the pressure on you. That's all I'm saying. Just be kind
Yeah.
of
Just
enjoy.
flow.
Yeah.
Flow
And
through life.
certain things are outside of our control, but
For
I
sure.
definitely want to hit the gym more often this year or something else. I don't know. I've been looking for some physical activity that's a bit more exciting than just going to the gym and pumping weights mindlessly. Do you know what I mean? It's like something I like Pilates, but then I always get disorganized with the classes and stuff like that. I don't know. I
Have
need like a
have
new
you
physical.
ever, yes, my favorite workout, I have many favorite workouts in LA specifically. But there's one that's incredible called Groove 3, and it's a dance class. And this guy teaches you choreography, but you don't stop. So it's like you're continually going, you practice the moves a couple of times, and then you just create this whole routine. And it's so hard and it's so much fun. And I feel like I am going to throw up every time I do it because it's so cardiovascularly challenging and it's so fun. Like
Well,
so fun.
you must have read my mind because I was thinking about something with dance. It's much more fun and it's less like one activity at a time, but much more coordinated. And I love going out and dancing with Fatima.
Me too.
I met Fatima, who works with us here on the podcast. We met on the dance floor. So
I didn't know that. That's
and
amazing.
now we're dancing through podcast live. So I will what was the name of the
It's
class
called Groove 3 and they
group?
have it in different areas of LA and they had it for a while at Equinox. This was pre-COVID, so I don't know where it is now, but yeah, it's Groove. I think it's Groov 3, the number 3.
I
It's
love the
so
sound of it.
good.
I love the sound of it. All right, let's talk about like how to really ramp up your metabolism this year, and maybe like dancing is part of it. But
Oh
Sarah,
yeah.
can we start like right at the top. Tell me all about what is the metabolism? Why do we care?
I think it's good to have a definition so we're all on the same page. And metabolism is essentially the way your body uses and makes energy, period. That's its simplest definition. And that's the core driver of all of health is how are we making and using energy?
And what are the main components when it comes to metabolism?
We have our BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. And that I like to think of that as if you were to be lying in bed, not moving and not doing anything, this is the amount of energy it takes for your heart to beat, for your liver to detox, for your gut to digest and break things down. It's just the energy that you're burning while you're laying still. Then
Got
we also look at the physical component. So, how active are you? Are you moving? Are you fidgeting throughout the day? Do you stand up and down walking up the stairs? Anytime you're moving, that's going to be an energy expenditure. And then the last part is the thermic effect of food. So, the food that, or the energy that it takes to break down food, essentially.
Got it. And where does energy conversion fit in this conversation?
So it's happening all the time. Our body is this energy converting machine. And like I said, we have our BMR. So when you're sleeping, you're still burning and using and creating energy. It's what you need to stay alive.
Can we make that a little bit more maybe visual for the listeners? Like, how should we think through what's happening inside the body, when we produce energy or convert the nutrients into energy, for example?
I think of it, if we're going to visualize it, as almost like this internal fire, but not, I know we've talked about fire in the sense of inflammation, but it's this way that our body like creates this natural fire that gives us the vitality and the energy we need to kind of move through our lives. And if we want to go down into like what's happening cellular level, we can talk about that because when we are resting or when we are moving through our day, our cells are the basic components that are creating energy. And within the cell, we have mitochondria and they make something called ATP. And ATP is what our body utilizes for energy. And we can create that through the foods we eat. So you've heard things like glucose and blood sugar control. That's basically taking carbohydrates, breaking them down into that simple component, glucose, putting it through a process, all in the effort to create ATP, which is our body's source of energy.
Got it. And obviously, there's a huge topic right now with proteins trending and people wanting to build more muscle, lean muscle. What roles do muscles play here when it comes to energy and metabolism?
Muscles are so, so important because the more muscle mass that you have, the more what we call in the biz metabolically active you are. So that
Hmm.
means at rest, that BMR is going to be higher because your body is able to actually utilize energy more efficiently the more muscle you have. That's why it's so important to do things like lift weights and to preserve muscle mass. And we've talked a lot about GLP-1s and making sure you're eating protein. And this is because as we age, as we're looking at metabolic health, preserving muscle mass is a key component of that.
Got it. So the muscles are basically the engine that keeps everything going and using the fuel, which is obviously the foods that we're eating, etc. Is that
Yeah. They
okay?
make us strong. They allow us to do things that are powerful and they are. They're the driving engine of our body.
Okay, cool. So we always talk about metabolism, or perhaps when you start looking into this episode, like through the lens of weight, but metabolism truly is so much more than that. And I would love us to unpack that a little bit, like why like healthy, well-functioning metabolism is so important. Could you build on that a little bit?
Yeah. And I think weight's the easiest one to go to because it's such a huge topic for everybody, especially when we come into a new year. Weight loss is a big goal for many people. When we break down metabolism further, it's not just responsible for weight, it's responsible for mood, sleep, blood sugar, hormone balance, digestion. It's really that critical component of overall well being.
Got it. And how do we know when our metabolism, I don't know what's happening there.
It's a tough word,
I'm
honestly.
tripping over this word today. I don't know what's going on here. All right, Friday, end of year, or beginning of year.
There's your resolution.
There's a
Say
resolution.
metabolism.
Metabolism. All right. How do we know that our metabolism is off?
You can start to feel energy dips. Maybe stress is harder to manage. Gut issues are a big way to understand it. Weight gain that's quick is another good indication that there's some metabolic imbalances. Yeah, stress eating, cravings.
Got it. How about your body temperature? You mentioned, that's important as well. And like, is that for some indicators that point us?
Yeah. So when typically if you're somebody that's more sensitive to cold, that can
Mhm.
be another underlying indication that metabolically something could be off and it could be important to look into.
So it
Because
sounds.
like when you're cold, think about it like if your hands are cold or your feet are cold all the time, that takes a lot of energy to warm your body up. You have to dilate blood vessels, send blood there, and make sure everything's warm and just good to go. And yeah, that's another indication metabolically that things are. maybe
So
a
there are a
little.
lot of like subtle cues one can listen to.
Yeah, and I want to put a like just a little sort of explanation here because it could so many different things like when you start to feel off could go back to this metabolic imbalance. And it's important to kind of assess yourself as a whole and not get too caught up in like, oh my God, I was bloated after this meal. It must be metabolic imbalances. And just take it with curiosity. I always love to say, like, just be curious when your body starts doing things and you're like, huh, that's different. Let me just tune in instead of freaking out or judging or being like, oh, something's wrong. And think about, okay, how do we just ground into this experience and support our bodies in a better way, which we'll give you some good tips here throughout this podcast to really connect to your body and do things that can be supportive.
Got it. Well, let's talk about that right away because obviously there's ways of like how nutrition can help here. Of course, exercise, as you mentioned, lifestyle, etc., is super important. But there's certain things that we can do from a nutritional perspective to really support our metabolism. And I would say that overeating is probably not helpful because you're using a lot of your energy just to digest the food that we're eating. So what can we do about that, Sarah?
Well, one of the best things that we can do is to increase fiber. And when we look at data, when we look at kind of cultural trends within the United States, we know that fiber is very, very low on the intake. I think it's 95%, according to NIH, of women are not getting adequate fiber intake. And that's huge. Bigger than protein is this imbalance of fiber. And
Mhm.
what fiber does is it really helps to stabilize our blood sugar. And when blood sugar is stabilized, you can be more in tune with your hunger and satiety. So you're not on this huge roller coaster of blood sugar spikes and blood sugar dips. You're really able to say, okay, am I hungry?
Mhm.
Should I eat? And can I make a healthy choice? Because once we go on that roller coaster of like, oh my God, I'm starving, the ability to make a healthy choice ultimately goes out the window because you're like, just feed me, give me energy. And our bodies are very smart and they know things like refined carbohydrates, sugar. Those are really good ways to get quick energy. So with fiber, we're stabilizing that.
And I believe there's a connection when it comes to GLP-1, obviously, a
Yeah,
hormone
for sure.
produced that tells our inner voice that we're not hungry anymore, right? And that's why
Yeah.
weight loss
Well,
drugs everywhere right now.
exactly. And GLP-1 is something our body makes. And when we have fiber, when we eat foods that are good for us, our body is actually triggered to make GLP-1, which allows us to tune in with that hunger and satiety and allows our stomach to move things out more efficiently. So it's really an important part of the process of just staying full and stabilizing blood sugar.
Yeah, and like just so our listeners know that there are like certain fibers, we use a fiber in our Flatamy fiber GLP-1 booster that was specifically formulated to boost your GLP-1 levels, but you have to take 10 grams of this prebiotic fiber with a meal. And then they looked in a clinical study on like GLP-1 levels, and we naturally produce GLP-1 right after a meal. It's our body telling us enough is enough. We don't have
Yeah.
any more, right? But there are natural ways of stimulating that particular hormone even more. And that's why we use this very specific fiber in our product. So I think fiber is the unsung hero, maybe, of the protein conversation that we're having right now. Everybody's looking for a lot
Yeah.
of protein. But as you rightly pointed out, most people don't get enough fiber. And getting that 25 to 30 gram of fiber into your daily diet is absolutely critical when it comes to metabolism health as well.
Yes, yes. And a little kind of not caveat, but in addition to that, because like I said in my intro, I am a microbiome nerd. So when we say something like increase fiber, there's a lot of people that will say, I can't increase fiber because it makes me so bloated. And I
Hmm.
think that's just an important piece of the conversation is with an increase in fiber, there is going to be more demand digestively. So having support when you're going through that more conscious fiber increasing routine, having something like an enzyme is really helpful because it just takes some of the burden off the body as it's adjusting to a higher fiber diet.
Yeah, and we included digestive enzymes into this formula because, to your point, your body needs to break down suddenly these more complex foods, right? And that takes,
Yeah.
help. And digestive enzymes are really like the sort of the triple unsung hero, if you will, in the back
Yeah.
a lot of the work, and they really help you break down foods more effectively, so you can really get the most benefit. And as we
Yeah.
age, that's something I learned. You're producing less digestive enzymes, so that is
Yep.
also something to take into account. You mentioned something else that piqued my interest, which were glucose levels and glucose swings. Tell me more about that and why those are important.
Well, glucose is a sugar that's providing us energy. So we need it to make ATP, as we've talked about. However, too much of it will signal high levels of insulin. And then we go on this kind of hormone roller coaster. So it's really important to keep that stable and to not get your body into the space of cravings. And that's how we create cravings. And I think a lot of people look at that and they say, oh, no, it's just my willpower. I should be able to move through this. And it's not. It's a biological, hormonal, chemical process that your body is going through that with the information, you can autocorrect. You don't have to go on that blood sugar swing. So things like refined carbohydrates, stress, skipping meals, not tuning in with your body, not sleeping well. Those are all things that can kind of cause that blood sugar cycle to go a little bit off the rails. And then when that happens, it's harder to be in tune with hunger and satiety, and it's harder to make good choices.
Absolutely. And what goes up must come down. And so the faster it does go up, the faster it will crash as well. So what we want to do here is really find ways of like increasing our glucose levels and in a thoughtful way so you don't get these spikes and you manage those maybe proactively. So I think you mentioned something super important here too, because you mentioned willpower. And I think there's still a lot of like stigma around unwanted cravings, snacking, etc. And it really has to do with biological function and not with willpower at all. So I just want to make sure that people listening to this know that. And the conversation needs to be about like educating yourself on like what you can do and what are those proactive measures you can take to manage these things. And I think I'm glad you mentioned that because I do think this conversation can be very, it's a very important conversation to have as well. And
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
summarize, it really cravings aren't a lack of discipline. I mean, it's like there's a lack of glucose stability, probably. Maybe that's the way to
Yeah.
summarize it.
Yeah. It's a
Uh,
biological foundational process that when you look at it, you can work with it. It's kind of like a computer. I always like to say, like, it's like coding in the back end of a computer. If you can kind of put in the right input, balancing fiber, balancing protein, balancing fat, things we've discussed many times on this podcast, then you can set yourself up for better blood sugar stability. And then there's also really good herbs and plants that are helpful at balancing and stabilizing blood sugar. And one of the best ones is berberine. It's often been referred to. I've seen a lot of research around berberine, and it can have the glucose stabilizing powers of even some of these glucose stabilizing drugs that are out there. So it's a really fascinating plant. And I like to incorporate that into my practice when people are just struggling with blood sugar stability. And it's really good for the gut.
You're right. There's lots of good research. There were a few studies where it was 1,000 milligrams. Some other studies at 1,200 milligrams per day. Berberine comes, from different plants, like the Indian bark tree, for example, has been around for a long, long time. It started on TikTok having a real moment, actually, and it was called Nature's Ozempic, which is not true. Of course, it
But
is.
God bless TikTok.
God bless TikTok. But also, I always, I had a conversation with some other scientists about this. Like, well, if you want to call it something, call it nature's metformin. But again, we probably have to edit this part out now, because I'm not saying this is what it is. But truly, it is a very interesting botanical that does help with like your glucose uptake, really, right? So that helps prevent those glucose spikes, and you also get as a secondary benefit, obviously, some weight management benefits here, because you're preventing, no, you're navigating those glucose spikes. And glucose is important. We're talking about metabolism here, we're talking about energy. I mean, glucose is what we need to be energized, correct? So it's like,
Primarily, unless you're going on a keto diet, and then that's a whole different ballgame. But our primary energy source is glucose.
Yeah, so I just want to call that out as well. And then what's fascinating about berberine, it also has some gut health benefits. And since you're the
I'm so glad you said that.
microbiome
I was
nerd,
waiting. I was like, come on, plug it for the gut.
all right, Sarah, why is berberine good for the gut? Tell me
Thank
about
you
it.
for asking. I've often used berberine. Actually, when I was first starting out as a practitioner, I used berberine solely for the purpose of being antimicrobial, antifungal, and antiparasitic. And I was just kind of layering it into gut healing protocols as a way to decrease pathogenic bacteria. And then I found out about its blood sugar stability effects. So I've always loved berberine for a long time and found that it's very beneficial. And when we're looking too at increasing fiber and optimizing gut health and stabilizing blood sugar, having berberine in there is going to help improve digestive function and balance blood sugar stability. So when we're looking at this from a metabolic perspective, it's very, very helpful.
Great. Let's move on to the next area, which I think is also important to point out because we often think about nutrition and physical activity when it comes to metabolism. But I also do believe that stress and sleep play a massive role here, and optimizing for those can really help your metabolism overall. What's your perspective on this?
Agree. Just kidding. I'll expand on that. Yeah, stress and sleep are huge parts of the conversation. And I don't think we would have a complete conversation without talking about stress and sleep. Sleep is restorative, it's reparative, it's critical for moving out damaged cells. We talked about metabolism being that ability to produce energy at a cellular level. If your cells are damaged, you're not going to be as effective at producing energy. So while you sleep, there's a really important process that's going on internally that's clearing out and repairing these dead cells, which is improving metabolic function. So, yes, sleep is crucial. I love to sleep. I aim for 10 hours a night.
There was an incredibly strong full moon. I don't
Oh,
know.
I saw it. It
I
was
felt it
beautiful.
was very strong, and I'm very sensitive to the moon. And I took a bit of magnesium, which is a really nice way of getting just better, deeper sleep. Magnesium bisglycinate specifically is something that I really lean on, and I also like L-theanine to help with my stress levels. So that's really a good way of like integrating a bit of good habits when it comes to sort of like improving your sleep
Yeah.
routine. Like my routine now is going to be in the morning, I'm getting my fiber up because I find it very hard to get enough fiber throughout the day. Of course, you can
Oh,
opt
yeah.
the salad and all this, but like I checked and like we have this Flatter Me fiber. It has 10 grams of prebiotic fiber, and that's the equivalent of like five broccoli cups of broccoli apparently. So that's a lot of broccoli you would need to eat here. And again, I'm not saying don't eat broccoli. I'm just saying for me personally, it's a
Yeah,
great
add it
way
in.
to
A
get in
balance.
grams of fiber, and then I have a salad, and then I reach those fiber goals. And then during the day, I'll take my berberine to, manage those glucose spikes. And then in the evening, I have a bit of magnesium bisglycinate with L-theanine and to round up the day. And that's what we call the HAR method. And has really helped me, and I hope other people will benefit from it as well. We've worked with a lot of, scientists on these formulas and really thought through how we can build a routine that helps us get to those um, health and wellness goals for this year. What can one expect, do you think, doing this for a couple of, like, let's say a month? I would say a few signs to watch out for, like, obviously your cravings. Is your body less, are you less likely to snack unwantedly? Your sleep quality is a
Yep.
really good sign to look out for. Regularity, again, another one of your favorite topics, Sarah. And generally speaking, more metabolic stability. So I would encourage people to try this for 30 days and drop a comment on how it worked for them.
Yeah, I love that. I think anytime we
Let us
have a
know.
simple framework to move through these complexities of nutrition, it's always beneficial. And utilizing supplements to fill in the gaps where we can't always reach our nutritional goals or kind of get to the point we need to, I think it's always really important to have those additional pieces.
All right, let's move on to our next section, the well, yes, and well, no for the week. Sarah, what are yours?
Let's see. My well, yes, is going to be honoring food because that is my core passion and poop. But eating a balanced meal with protein, fiber, lots of nice fiber, and healthy fats is always going to be a foundational pillar for me when we're talking about metabolism or just health overall.
That's good. And how about your well know?
My well know is more personal and emotional. And within this topic, it's important to give yourself grace and not beat yourself up. So my well know is beating yourself up for having a craving or making the wrong food choice or not doing your resolution, and just be kind and loving and allow yourself the curiosity to have a new experience and see what's there without judgment.
Got it. My well, yes, actually the ones you mentioned early on, like incorporating dance into my fitness routine. That's gonna be my well, yes, this week. I'm so for it.
I
And
can't wait to see videos. Please send them.
all right, I have to go private probably for a few days then. And my well no is this under eating, like chronically under eating in the hopes of improving or speeding up your metabolism. I don't think that's the right approach. I think
That's a great point to bring up because I think that's an often a misconception is like, oh, I'm gaining weight, I'm tired, I'll just eat less. And that's actually the opposite. So I think that's a really important well know.
yeah, and we talked about this before. Fasting can be really beneficial, but like constantly under nurturing your body is just not the right approach. So, and there are really different ways of approaching it. And as you said earlier, be kind to yourself, be forgiving.
Yeah.
You don't have to meet all your resolutions on January 2nd, right? You have your whole life in front of you. I just one of these things, because I think we always beat ourselves up a little bit when it comes to these things, right? I always say to myself, yesterday has happened and I cannot change it. But today is a new day. So every day is an opportunity to set new goals, look forward to something new. And looking back is just not going to be, I would say, supportive in, achieving and fulfilling your full potential. It's just something I want to throw out there
I
because
love that.
I think it's
And
really important. Just like every day is a new day. It really is.
yeah. And you know what I do?
What
I
do you do?
give myself hugs. I
Yeah.
I hug myself and I pat myself on the back a lot and I say, it's okay. You did great. And I just like to give myself a nice little tight hug, and that makes me feel better and regulates my nervous system. So
Well,
that's my little tip.
I'm giving you a virtual hug right now. How's
Oh,
that?
thank you.
I hope you can feel it. We always a good connection. All right, let's do our RD rapid fire. Best foods for healthy metabolism. Sarah, you know how this goes on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. What are the foods for metabolic support? Let's start with chicken,
10,
ginger,
6,
leafy greens,
9,
Greek yogurt,
9,
chili peppers,
5,
fruit juice,
0,
Diet Coke,
100, 0,
berries,
9,
green tea,
6,
refined grains,
0,
hydration,
8,
oatmeal.
10,
And I would just throw in some fiber here, and why not?
10.
Got it. All right. Thanks, Sarah. This was awesome. I really
Diet Coke. Sorry, I'm still laughing. Okay, carry on.
that wasn't on the list. I threw that in there. It was a bit of a curveball. Sorry. Look, I think energy drinks and
Yeah,
caffeine.
I mean, a lot of people drink Diet Coke. I see it more just in my groups of friends and people. I'm like, oh, wow, there's a lot of Diet Coke consumption, and how curious.
It is, it's having a moment. But anyway, we're not talking about caffeine today. We had an episode on this one as well. Actually, we threw it in with nicotine as well. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's another episode of this one. Sarah, it was so lovely talking to you as always. I hope all your non non what do you say? Your
Resolution.
non-resolutions will come true.
Thank you.
This is going to be an awesome year, I have a feeling. And if it isn't, it's remember every day is a new day. There's always something to look forward to. But honestly, this was a real pleasure, and I speak to you very soon. See you soon on our podcast. And I just want to say a massive thanks to Brooke, our producer, and to Fatima, our production assistant. This was really, really helpful. Thank you.